I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promise you've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you're my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not, because I still believe that you're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through. I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not, because I still believe that you're my gravity, that you're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go. The only thing that I know, you were my gravity, but now I had to leave. I will let you go. Why do you think that I want? Why do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promise you've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you're my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not, because I still believe that you're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through. I got nothing to lose but you.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here as we get set for race number 29 of Season 7 of the NCAA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series. This is playoff race number 3, elimination race number 1. That's right, we have hit the first leg of the playoffs where we will whittle the field down from our original 17 to 12 drivers remaining for this season's championship. We ended up having 17 drivers make their way into the playoffs since we had that tie for the final wild card position, but 5 drivers will be coming to the end of their road, and things are super close in the point standings. We ran the numbers for the most part during the qualifying session yesterday evening. We're going to be taking a more in-depth look here in just a moment, but one thing that we do have to focus on here before we even get into that is 1 year ago, we had the very first race here at Nashville Superspeedway. A driver who is a playoff contender started on the pole position. They went on to lead the most laps and win the race to advance into the round of 12. 1 season later, we've got the same scenario to begin with. Zach Rogers, playoff contender, capturing the pole position. He swept both the qualifying sessions yesterday, advancing into the Fast 10 and then putting himself on the inside of the front row. Could lightning strike twice, and could Zach Rogers win his way into the round of 12? He already comes into this race above the 12th in the standings cut line, but he'd like to carry an extra 5 bonus points into that round of 12 also, which is something that Matthew Rodriguez will be doing after winning a couple of weeks ago at Gateway. He's the only driver we know coming into this one of the other 17 playoff contenders that is locked into the next round. Everybody else mathematically can move above or fall below the 12th position in the standings. The defending champion of the series, Charles Sanford, makes it an all Chevrolet front row. Of course, Charles failing to make the playoffs this season, so he will look to end out the season with as many checkered flags as possible. He's still looking for that first checkered flag here of Season 7. Maybe tonight is the night. And we ended up, I believe it was last week, having 2 playoff drivers advance into the Fast 10. The week before that at Gateway, we had half of our top 10 filled by playoff drivers. This week, we had 3 playoff drivers advance into the Fast 10, and they're all starting up in the top 5, all in the respective first, second, and third rows on the inside line. Ryan Butcher rolling off 3rd, and Caleb Fogler rolling off from 5th. Good starting track position could be important for those drivers. But let's take a look now at the playoff points coming into this race. This is how it looks with Matthew Rodriguez, our winner at Gateway, already advanced. Ryan Butcher is the highest up in the point standings right now that is not yet locked into the round of 12. The driver we are focused on is Austin LaPlante. He is 12th in the standings right now. He is the benchmark. He is the cut line driver that everybody wants to either be above or below at the conclusion, that 12th in the standings, regardless of who the driver might end up being. Right now, you look at Ryan Butcher, Keith Batson. They've got some wiggle room. They're looking okay. They basically just need a decent points night. I'd say that they would have to finish up inside of the top 25, and I think they would be locked in, because right now you've got 32 points that Ryan Butcher has and 25 points that Keith Batson has. Batson is going to be starting pretty deep in the field, but Butcher's got good starting track position. So Butcher looks at the moment like a lock-in to the next round, but can't count your chickens because something could happen here tonight that could completely flip that scenario on its head. From Rob Evans on down, though, this is where it gets interesting because Rob is only 21 points ahead of the cut line. I say only 21. There are 47 points on the line here tonight. 21 points doesn't even reach half of that. So it is definitely possible Evans, with a bad finish tonight, can fall out of the top 12. You've got Jesse Turner. He is currently only a total of, 19 points ahead of the cut line. Casey Hoyt, he's only 17 points ahead of the cut line. Only 11? Yeah, 11 points ahead of the cut line is Connor Breton. Only 7 points ahead of the cut line is Zach Rogers. Only 5 ahead of the cut line is Caleb Fogler. Will Goss is only 4 up on the cut line, and Dylan Poteet sits 1 measly point ahead of Austin LaPlante. And then you flip it to the underneath the cut line, and it's still close for these drivers to make their way in. Dustin Boland, -3. Jessica Shelton, -7. James Qualls is only -8. Reese Banks, who last week, I'll be honest, I thought was going to be coming into this race a must-win situation, was able to come back for a decent enough run that he mathematically is only 12 points behind the cut line. And Dylan Young, who's had the worst average finish so far of our 17 playoff drivers, he's still got a shot. He's only 15 points back. All of these drivers have a decent shot of being able to point their way or even win their way through strategy here tonight into the round of 12. There's going to be a lot of moving parts and pieces this evening. I'm going to do my best to kind of eyeball, see who I think is in, who is out, but it's just going to be way too close to call, I feel. We're just going to have to wait for the official tally at the end of the night to see who is moving on and who is not. Let's also bear in mind here tonight as well, it's going to be a little bit interesting to follow the 94 of Jessica Shelton. Why? Because S3 Motorsports has won the championship the last 2 seasons. The 09 winning the championship in season 5, the 03 winning the championship in season 7, or season 6 rather. Here in season 7, Jessica Shelton is the only S3 Motorsports that made the playoffs. If she's eliminated here tonight, then we are going to have, for the first time in 3 seasons, a different organization hoisting that championship trophy. But we've got 75 laps of racing to get done here tonight before we find out who are the other 11 drivers, along with Matthew Rodriguez, that are moving on to the next round of the playoffs. Let's go down trackside for those most famous words in motorsports and get racing at Nashville.
Gentlemen, start your engine!
Nice service, be there at the end. It's a long race. We just got to stay in contention, no mistakes. That's the big key, no mistakes today. We get up there, we get in the top 10, we ride. That's what we got to do today.
Right side of your screen, you see your 42 car starting lineup. Final leg here of this round of 17. 12 drivers will move on. 5 drivers, their journey will end here. Nashville Superspeedway, second time that it's been on the schedule, replaced Indianapolis as the first elimination race last season. Saw RJ Bishop go to victory lane as a playoff driver. Now Zach Rogers hoping that he can make it back-to-back seasons, that a playoff driver takes the checkered flag here at this 1.3 miles. Down into the Geico restart zone. And playoff race number 3 of season 7 is underway. Rogers gets the advantage out of 2. Down the back straightaway will clear for the top spot. Sanford will slide into second. 3 wide potentially for third as Nick Gunther way up the racetrack there. Butcher will clear into the third spot. It's now Gunther and Fogler side by side for fourth. Gunther will take the spot off of turn 4. Sanford at the bottom of the racetrack looking for the lead on Zach Rogers going into 1. Top side, I think, is going to be the preferred lane here, especially as the run goes on. Inside line can work, but you're going to have to use it in the early going with fresh tires. Sanford, again, tries to get the left rear quarter panel of Rogers through 3 and 4. Going to pull right up to his back bumper. Going to have a nice run here off of turn 4 and down the front straightaway. Might try to slingshot him down into turn 1, which is exactly what he's going to do. The question is, though, can he make it stick? Rogers will rim ride around the top. And look how he was able to carry all that speed into the center of the corner. Sanford now caught out. That's going to bring Ryan Butcher to his outside for the second spot. Nick Gunther, our winner from a few weeks ago at the regular season finale at Auto Club Speedway. Now into the fourth spot, waiting to see which line's going to move. Behind them, Nathan Orman and Kyler Sustre, a couple of former winners of the season, but way down in the point standings. Battling it out for that fifth spot. Sanford still pinned down to the bottom. Ryan Butcher looking to see if he can maybe swing around the outside and clear him off of 2. I believe he has done so. Nick Gunther following right in his tire tracks. As Zach Rogers opened up a bit of an advantage, about 2 car lengths back to now Ryan Butcher's Popeye's Toyota Camry. Remember, Ryan Butcher came into this race the highest of the drivers in the playoffs that had not yet advanced into the next round of the playoffs via a victory. And he just needs to have a top 25 finish, really, in order to advance in on points. And right now he's running up in the podium, doing a great job here in this first round of playoff competition. Remember, until we got to Bristol Dirt, Ryan Butcher was not locked into the playoffs. But when he ended up getting that victory like he had done back in Season 6 as well, winning at that same venue, he ended up advancing into a wild card spot. Look at this back here. 4 wide is why I dropped back here to this battle off of turn 4. This is around the 15th, 16th position. Breton, Mills, Hoyt, and Lamas were 4 wide coming off of turn 4. And look at the Duracell copper splitters and spoilers we've got in this vicinity here with Hoyt, Matthew Rodriguez, Reese Banks, Jesse Turner's in this mix. Will Goss is right behind this group as well. If that had gone wrong, that could have been a bunch of playoff contenders swept up into an incident, and that could have definitely changed the landscape of the current playoff standings. Some drivers, though, that did not get very good qualifying efforts that came into this race below the cut line. Dylan Young here trying to work his way up to the front, going 3 wide with Zach Rogers to the inside and Mitchell Collins to the outside. Look at them fan out here on the front straightaway. Just beneath Dylan Young now going to turn 1 is Jessica Shelton, who was also below the cut line coming into this one. Right behind her, James Qualls, 3-time winner, was also below the cut line. These are drivers that did not get the benefit of good starting track position, but the driver that they're gunning for right now to stay ahead of is this driver, Austin LaPlante, who's all the way back right now in the 35th position. Keith Batson started this race from, I believe it was 41st. He and Reggie Fogelman shared the last row. He's picked up a couple of spots since the drop of the green, is up to 39th and looking for more. How about RJ Bishop, the defending winner of this race, currently back in 41st. Far cry from where he started this race 1 season ago. You saw Reggie Fogelman still back there in dead last where he started this race, as Nick Gunther under fire from Nathan Ormond, who's on the move. Nathan, who won at Watkins Glen on some pit road strategy, now going to make his way around the Mimnique number 55 Mazda MX-5. At the time of this recording, obviously quite a ways in the future when it airs, but at the time this recording is going on, congratulations to Nick Gunther and the Mimnique 787B channel on hitting the 500 subscribers mark. We'll be seeing Nick Gunther run a special scheme in regards to that starting season 8, as we are 3 wide now. This is for the 6th position. Ryan Brommer has made his way up into the top 10, trying to get the 6th spot away from former champion and playoff driver Caleb Fogler. Kyler Sustre right there in the mix, another former champion right behind them, and Carson Gum right now holding down the 9th spot. And behind him you got some playoff drivers, Rob Evans and Dustin Bolin duking it out for, I believe that would be the 10th position between those two. Evans gets the advantage off the second corner. There's last week's winner from Chatham Dirt, Michael Norman, finally getting back to victory lane. One season ago, Michael Norman was in the playoffs battling for the championship. Remember, he had 2 wins during the playoffs as well. But this season did not make it into the postseason. But very happy that he was able to get a crooked number in the win column after what's been, it's not been a terrible season for Michael Norman. I guess it's just kind of been a lackluster season. Certainly not been a very exciting season or a, right in your face kind of season for him. As things are starting to close up here for this race lead. They've single filed out. Rogers, Butcher, Sanford, the top 3. A couple of Chevrolets and a Toyota. And Nathan Orman's Ford, which had made it up to 3rd, lost the spot back to Charles Sanford, and has kind of faded back from the top 3, now under fire from Nick Gunther. Now we should pay attention to the notes, I guess, that we were able to glean from last night's Light Series race. One thing that we noted there, it seemed like it was somewhat difficult to pass. It hasn't appeared to be all that difficult to pass here. Maybe not as much up here at the front, but in the middle of the pack, we've seen a lot of positions picked up with both moves on the inside and the outside line. So maybe the CTS physics that the Cup drivers are running here has allowed them with the slower speeds a little bit more maneuverability. But something else that we also have to bear in mind here is last night's race was 40 laps in total. That was a little over half the distance that they are running here tonight, 75 laps. And pit stops. Pit road's going to come into play. I'm already seeing nearly 7 to 8 tenths of a second fall off, and we're only 16 laps into this race. This is a lot more than we saw for fall off in the Lights race last night. And so, therefore, I think that pit road is going to be very important. And we saw last night Skylar Taylor pick up the victory. He pitted from the lead, but he also ended up finishing ahead of a couple of other drivers that came to pit road the same lap that he did, and they gleaned top 3 podium finishes over Kyle Langland, who was second at the time the green flag pit stops began, but he elected to pit a lap later. So I think that if you were a Cup driver and you were watching the Lights race last night, you are going to be coming to pit road as soon as that window opens, because you are going to want those fresh tires, you are going to want that good out lap, and it will probably gain you track position. Nick Gunther, saw him there kind of get pinned down the inside line. Caleb Fogler was able to swing around him for 6th, and now he's about to lose that spot. That's going to be Kyler Sustre making the move, and he'll move into P6, dropping Gunther back to the 7th spot. He may lose that because here comes Ryan Brummer putting the pressure on him in the Twix Toyota. A lot of people consider Nashville Super Speedway a cookie cutter racetrack, and I guarantee you it is anything but that. You see the different lanes these drivers are able to run, some of them right down the bottom. You saw Ryan Butcher was almost all the way to the wall there coming off a turn 2. A lot of different options and a very unique 1 and 2 as pit stops beginning here already. Here we go. So Nathan Orman and Caleb Fogler are going to stay out. Zach Rogers comes in from the race lead along with the rest of the top 3, Butcher and Sanford. Execution on pit road is going to be very important here tonight. Last year's race, they ran the entire event and did not see a caution. Last night, Lights race, ran the entire 40 laps, did not see a yellow flag. So if you make a mistake, you're not going to really have a chance, more than likely, to be able to mount a comeback, as now Orman comes into pit lane along with Fogler. Looks like Jesse Turner will stay out an extra lap. Gutsy call there by the 47. Gets himself a bonus point for a lap led. Jesse Turner came into this race 19 points ahead of the cut line. Question is, though, is this going to be a strategy call that will gain him a point but lose him track position? Drivers coming to pit road here around the lap 20 mark. So it looks like they will, if this is the furthest they can go, they're going to have to come to pit road at least 2 more times before the conclusion of this race, as Turner is in. Looks like Anthony McCurry also stayed out an extra lap in his Mazda. And this is where the lead should cycle to. Zach Rogers, Ryan Butcher. Looks like, who was 3rd of that group when they came in? because I think they ended up losing some track position. Charles Sanford, yeah, he was the third driver in this pack, and he's not with them now. So I don't know what happened to the 0-3. We'll see where he cycles to as Zach Rogers runs low there through 3 and 4. Ryan Butcher up high. Try to get that run off of turn 4. Looks like Kyler Sustre will cycle around to the 3rd spot. Nathan Ormond to 4th, and there was Jesse Turner just now leaving pit road. So we'll have to see where he cycles around to. 5th place now, I think, just changed hands. Rob Evans moving up into the top 5, dropping Ryan Brommer back to 6th. Carson Gum right now 7th, 8th Joshua Osborne. Looks like 9th place is where Jesse Turner is going to slot in. There's Charles Sanford. He drifted all the way back to outside of the top 10. Nick Gunther also drifted back in the 55. So a couple of teams with some slow pit stops, and it appears it has cost them. I just noticed, though, a driver that used pit road to gain track position is Dylan Young. Last time by, scored in 18th. And where did we see him when we last checked? He was back around the 26th, 27th spot. So that team, last of the playoff contenders coming into this race, making some strides on pit strategy. Jessica Shelton as well, now up, I believe, to the 20th position. So some drivers utilizing these green flag pit stops to get them up at least at a gain of track position of where they were running, as Turner's got either 1 or 2 lap fresher tires depending on who he's racing. And I don't remember exactly where he was when the pit stop cycle began, but I feel like this actually was one of the cases of the long run strat working out in his favor, because I don't think that Sanford or Gunther got into a wreck on pit road, but they certainly must have been held up to lose the spots that they did. And with that being said, when Jesse Turner came to pit lane, everybody had pretty much already completed their stops, so he had a relatively clean pit road to be able to come down and leave, and so it didn't really hinder him in terms of getting the maximum amount of speed. He has cycled to 7th place after all that, so that's one of the few cases in which I've seen the long run strat actually pay off just as well as the undercut. But Zach Rogers continues to lead in the Ghost Energy Chevrolet out of Evans Motorsports. I feel like I am beating a dead horse, but the fact that we've got Zach Rogers in the playoffs, and right now with a chance to win his way into the round of 12 after what we saw in the first 2/3 of the regular season. Rogers was in the cellar of the point standings. He was, needless to say, pretty much the worst car in the field for the first half of the regular season. But he ended up finding something near the end of the regular season, got himself into the top 30 in points, got the victory at Atlanta, was able to secure enough points at Auto Club to tie Dylan Young for what was eventually the final wild card spot, advanced his way here into the postseason. He comes into this race 8 points ahead of the cut line, but right now, he's looking to join Matthew Rodriguez in having a 5-point bonus heading into that round of 12 in preparation for Hillside next week. But Ryan Butcher's held tough with him the entirety of this race. Playoff contenders 1, 2. Matter of fact, you've got 3 of them in the top 5 with Rob Evans in the 5th position. And then how about a couple of non-playoff spoilers right there? Kyler Sustre, pushes up, slides up there through the center of 1 and 2, trying to get to the inside of Ryan Butcher, and Nathan Ormond in the 23. Sustre a winner at Vegas, and Ormond a winner at Watkins Glen. Ormond trying to make it back-to-back victories for Michael Norman Motorsports, as Michael last week was a non-playoff contender that kind of spoiled the party. And Jesse Turner's made his way up to 6th. He got around Ryan Brommer, and now he's going to work on Rob Evans. He's got those fresh tires, he's got a fast race car, and Turner is making moves. Question is, though, if he gets up there to the front, has he used up the advantage he had on those tires at that point? But now Rob Evans, and he kind of a little bit of a tandem draft to get up to the top 4. So things about to get very interesting as you'll have 4 playoff contenders up here in this lead pack inside of the top 6. Next playoff driver is Reese Banks. How about this? Last week we saw him involved in the first caution at Chatham, backed it into the tire barrier. They went to work, repaired that car as best they could. They played a little strategy as well. I thought Reese Banks, with being involved in that incident and not having a good run at Gateway to start out the playoffs, was going to maybe come into this race tonight in a must-win situation. No, that's not the case. Yes, he's below the cut line, but he's only 8 points below that cut line, and right now in the top 10 could, if we had live standings, would maybe be above said cut line. So looking really strong as he's battling with Carson Gum for the 8th spot and might actually take it down here in 3 and 4. Great showing for at least 3 of the Michael Norman Motorsports cars. We saw Nathan Ormond up there in the top 5. We've got Matt McIntyre right now battling with Joshua Osborne. That would be for the 12th spot. And right behind them is Michael Norman, who won last week. He's in 13th. Mitchell Collins in the 33, though, not doing as well. He's currently mired back in 36th position. As we've had an exchange for second, Sustre has gotten around Ryan Butcher. Jesse Turner also passed him to move into third, and Turner continues to make the charge. Now to the inside of Kyler Sustre, and he will move into the runner-up spot. Zach Rogers has had Ryan Butcher pretty much behind him the entirety of this race. He's about to see the United States Air Force looming large in his rearview mirror. Jesse Turner's got the fastest car on the racetrack. Now can he get up here and pass Zach Rogers for the top position? If he does, it'll be the first pass on the racetrack for the lead under green flag conditions. We did have a lead change earlier. That was when we ended up having Nathan Ormond and Jesse Turner lead during the green flag pit stop cycle. But Turner to the bottom, looking for the top spot down the back straightaway. Does he have enough car, enough grip to make it stick here through 3 and 4? It's going to be a very shallow entry. You see him having to lift there. Not going to be able to do it this time. Let's go on board the 47 in this battle for the race lead here at Nashville Superspeedway. Hear the finesse of the throttle there for Jesse Turner. Was trapped on the inside line, couldn't get back to the throttle. Rogers keeps the lead, and Sustre was able to swing around him for the second position. We're nearing when these drivers should projected have to make their upcoming second pit stop. We have to assume Jesse Turner will run long again, and we'll see if that will either get him to the lead or at least in the conversation for the lead, whereas Rogers will probably be one of the first to pit road since he started the first green flag pit stop cycle about 20 laps ago. Also, if you're keeping track, we're going to look at this after. Well, we can maybe look at here quickly before they make these pit stops. Will Goss is running dead last, and he is way back behind everybody else. He's about 5 seconds behind his nearest competitor, which is Kyle Matthews. Will came into this race 10th in overall points. He was only 4 points ahead of the cut line, so the two-time winner is in danger of not advancing. His teammate Dustin Bolin came in 3 points below the cut line. He's back here battling for 40th with Kyle Matthews, so a couple of young motorsports drivers are in trouble. Caleb Fogler started this race from 5th. He's all the way back here in the 38th position with Casey Hoyt in 39th. Hoyt came into this race a total of 17 points ahead of the cut line, and Fogler was a total of 15 points ahead of the cut line. There's the cut line driver, Austin LaPlante, not that far up ahead of them as the pit stops have begun. Rogers, Sustre, and Butcher all coming in. Some other drivers coming in as well, including a couple of playoff contenders in Jessica Shelton and Reese Banks. Here comes Rob Evans onto pit lane. Turner actually led the lap. Evans would have led that lap if they had come back around, as it looked like he was to the inside of the 47. But now we got a couple of other drivers that have decided to run long with Turner. I think it was, Turner and McCrory were the two drivers that elected to run long under the first green flag cycle. Matt McIntyre has elected to stay out an extra lap. So too has Levi McIntyre, Jose Mills, and then a bunch of drivers back here like Bishop, Fogelman, Haas, Voiles, McCrory, and Breton. So we'll see how that pans out for those drivers as Turner stays out another lap. I think McIntyre might be coming in this time, that being Matt McIntyre. Bunch of drivers here getting their pit stops done. Yep, Turner staying out an extra lap. Let's see. Yep, I think Matt McIntyre has come in. I think Levi McIntyre has come in. We'll see if anybody else went this long as Jesse Turner did. Turner coming in this time around. It looks like everybody else came to pit road the lap prior, and Turner's going to come down pit road by himself. So we'll see, wait and see where he cycles around to. This, I think, is going to be the battle potentially for the race lead, depending on where the 47 is. Kyler Sustre over Rob Evans. Then Nathan Norman and Zach Rogers now battling for what could eventually be third. But again, this all depends on where Jesse Turner cycles around to. So just try to do the quick math in my head right now. If things don't change based off of what we were just looking at, I feel like Austin LaPlante, Will Goss, Destin Bolin for sure are going to find themselves below the cut line. There's Turner coming off pit road. He's not going to cycle to the lead, but he'll be back again inside of the top 10, I feel. And we saw how good of a long-run car he had, working his way eventually up into the top 5. Trying to get out there ahead of Ryan Butcher and Reese Banks. Looks like Turner's going to cycle around to battling for 5th place with Ryan Butcher. But again, he's going to have that tire advantage. And we'll see if he can reel in the top 4 cars as the battle is on for the lead. Rob Evans is still looking for that first career win. He won the regular season championship. He advanced his way in on points. He's currently coming into this race 21 points ahead of the cut line. So he's in really good shape to advance into the round of 12, but he still wants that first checkered flag. He has seen both his teammates go to victory lane here this season. Rogers at Atlanta and Fitzwater at Mid-Ohio. He's got a non-charter win back in Season 4 at the Indianapolis Road Course, but he's yet to win a Duracell Cup Series chartered race. Tonight could be the night, but Kyler Sustre has got nothing to lose. Sustre, a former winner on the season, a non-charter driver who locked himself into the field here this week due to the fact that only 42 drivers showed up. He and Reggie Fogelman both were locked in regardless. They didn't have to battle anybody else for the transfer spots to get into this evening's race. So Sustre is going all out, trying to maybe start off his second full-time season in Season 8 as a multi-time Duracell Cup Series winner. Battle for third continues side by side, Ormond and Rogers, and here comes the 47 of Jesse Turner. Turner's got a lot more laps to work with this time now too before we end up getting to what will more than likely be the money stop, the final round of green flag pit stops somewhere around the lap 60 mark. Turner's flanked by his teammate Reese Banks, and then right behind Reese Banks, and one of those drivers that elected to kind of go the long strategy with Jesse Turner, Matt McIntyre has moved his way now up into the top 10 in 7th. Ryan Butcher right now in 8th with his teammate Ryan Brommer in 9th, and then 10th place is Nick Gunther. Jessica Shelton continues to climb on the pit strategy up to 11th. So I feel that we could say Shelton is above the cut line as things currently stand. Let's find the rest of our playoff drivers here. Got to go a long ways back before we find Dylan Young right now in 22nd. He was a total of 13 points below the cut line. Is 22nd enough for him to be above it? There's a bunch of drivers that are behind him that were up above him in points that are struggling. Maybe he's done enough at this point. Maybe he can do a little bit more on the next pit stop cycle. Matthew Rodriguez already knows he's locked in. He's 24th. James Qualls came into this one 8 points below the cut line. He's 27th. Is that enough for him right now? Pote came into this race 1 point to the good above the cut line, but he's back here in 27th place. Keith Batson, who started 41st, is up to 29th. He should be, I think, in good shape right now to point his way into the next round. If he can get a couple more spots, though, he could use that security blanket. Austin LaPlante, though, I feel he came in this race the cut line driver. He's back here in 32nd. I feel that right now he's no longer the cut line driver. He's below whoever the cut line driver would be. 34th place is where we find Connor Breton. Breton was, what, 11 to the good? I don't know what his situation is right now. Casey Hoyt, he was 17 to the good, back here in 35th. I don't know, with how many drivers are struggling right now, he might still be able to point his way in, but it won't be the best of momentum going into Hillside next week. And then right here, I feel these drivers are very much in trouble. Destin Bolin, Caleb Fogler, and Will Goss. Bolin and Goss more so than Fogler. Fogler had 5 points between himself and the cut line, so he didn't have much of a safety net. Will Goss only had 4 points between himself and the cut line, and then Destin Bolin was below the cut line by 3 points. I feel that right there you're looking at potentially 3 of the eliminated drivers as they currently run. Rob Evans did take the lead as we were cycling through the field to look at the playoff contenders, so that is the, I believe, 3rd playoff driver that has led a lap here tonight so far. Rogers, Turner, and Evans being those 3. Turner has moved up into the 2nd spot. Kyler Sustre, who was leading after the pit stop cycle, has drifted back to 5th, and he's under fire from Reese Banks and Levi McIntyre. I'm sorry, make that Matt McIntyre, the other McIntyre. We're about roughly 7 to 9 laps away from when these drivers will make the final pit stop. They would potentially only have to take on a can and a half of fuel, so I think you're going to take a 4-tire pit stop. I don't think you would risk it and go with 2 tires. The amount of time it would take to put in the can and a half, you probably could get the 4 tires changed at that point in time. But the question now for Jesse Turner is, does he run long again? Or does he come to pit road when everybody else does? Because before, it was a matter of getting to a target lap. Now, regardless of when you come to pit road, if you do it at least within the next 2 or 3 laps, you know you've got the fuel to make it the rest of the way. You were able to make it a median of 20 laps on each run. Do you come to pit road as soon as that window is open, maybe? Is that a thing that these drivers would consider doing? I'm not sure. Battle for the lead is on. Turner looking to the bottom of Rob Evans. Right now, Evans, Turner, Rogers, drivers up here with the playoff banners, definitely look like they are going to be advancing into the round of 12. Why are they battling hard for this race win? Well, with Matthew Rodriguez getting that victory at Gateway a couple of weeks ago, when the playoff points are reformatted for the round of 12, if you win during the previous round, you get 5 bonus points for each win in that next round. So right now, Matthew Rodriguez would be the #1 seed heading into Hillside, 5 points up over everybody else. If one of these 3 playoff drivers right here, which are your top 3, take a checkered flag tonight, they would be tied with Matthew Rodriguez for the #1 seed. Playoff points do not carry over from the regular season into each round, but playoff points do carry over from round to round. And we are nose to tail right now with a couple of Evans Motorsports Chevrolets sandwiching the Lake Effect Autosports Ford Mustang. Some great racing here tonight at Nashville, and I think the most encouraging thing is we're seeing passing at the front for the race lead. Multiple lanes working, the inside and the outside lane. Last year, in the 75-lap event that we had, RJ Bishop dominated the race, led a total of 69 laps. Most laps have been led here tonight have been Zach Rogers, and he has been out in front for a total of 35 circuits. That is half of what RJ Bishop was able to lead. Rob Evans has led now 11 laps. Jesse Turner has led 6. They are the only drivers that have been out in front, but nobody has led for a huge chunk of laps like RJ Bishop was able to do one season ago. I believe we got some drivers diving onto pit lane here. Yep, this is around the time where the fuel window's open. And so Zach Rogers is going to peel off and hope that this is the race-winning strategy. He's coming down all by himself. Going to have a very clean entry to pit road, a very clean exit. We'll see how this translates for the pole sitter. Is this the race-winning move? And this will certainly draw other drivers, I would think, to pit road here in these upcoming laps. Not this time, at least, for the front runners, though. Here come a couple from the top 10. Reese Banks, playoff contender, coming in, along with Kyler Sustre. Looks like also a playoff driver, and Ryan Butcher coming in. A couple of Joanna Atwood Motorsports teammates, and Joshua Osborne and Quentin Moore making the dive onto pit lane. Evans continuing to lead. Do we see him maybe bail out? Yep, I think he's coming to pit road this time. Nathan Ormond, Nick Gunther coming in as well. Battle for the lead now is going to be between a couple of Mustangs. Jesse Turner and Matt McIntyre. Turner leads the lap, but McIntyre and the Mako Mermaids Ford looking to the bottom. Very shallow entry there. Lets it drift up. Try to get that run off of turn 2. Loses a little bit of ground to Jesse Turner. Looks like also Carson Gum may have stayed out an extra lap. Levi McIntyre as well. Is Turner coming in this time? Nope, stays out an extra lap. So does Matt McIntyre. Carson Gum and Levi McIntyre, though, they're coming in from 3rd and 4th. RJ Bishop also ran long. He's coming in along with Laura Chung. Reggie Fogelman, who started shotgun on the field. Little strategy play here as he'll stay out a lap longer. Connor Breton, Daniel Voiles appeared. They also stayed out a little bit longer. And here comes Turner and McIntyre from the top 2. They're coming into pit lane. Will Goss, I believe he was a lap down, gets his lap back. Some other drivers coming in back there. Yeah, looks like all the other drivers that stayed out are coming in, along with Breton and Voiles and Fogelman. So where does... Ooh, contact there on pit road between Fitzwater and Matt McIntyre. Matt McIntyre does make it into his pit stall there, though. So where does the lead cycle to? I wondered if it might have been Zach Rogers, but no. Reese Banks is ahead of him, and Rob Evans is ahead of Banks. I think it's going to be Rob Evans who cycles back out to the front, with now Reese Banks up to 2nd. Rogers back to 3rd. Then Sustre and Ormond, though again, we got to wait and see where the 47 cycles after all this. So the strategy call there for Zach Rogers didn't quite pan out the way he planned. Trying that undercut. Turner's not going to cycle out to the lead. He'll probably be back somewhere around the 6th position here. Yeah, right behind Nathan Ormond. But these drivers now know that they can make it on fuel. Now it's they've got what they've got here for what will be 12 laps this time by. Rob Evans, the race leader. Reese Banks will be 2nd. Zach Rogers in 3rd. All 3 podium drivers, playoff contenders, looking to win their way into the next round. Though at this point, I think they would easily point their way into the round of 12 with where they're currently situated. Same can be said for Jesse Turner, who right now is in the 6th position behind Sustre and Ormond, who are trying to be playoff spoilers. Nick Gunther is cycled into 6th. Jessica Shelton continues to climb up the leaderboard after every pit stop. She is currently in the 7th position. Correction, make that 8th. Quentin Moore currently holding down the 9th spot as he's trying to hold off Ryan Butcher, who has stayed in the top 10 all night long. And looks like he is going to easily point his way into the next round of the playoffs. We'll do one final sweep through to see where the playoff drivers are after the money stop. Dylan Poteet back here in 23rd that he's trying to take from James Qualls. This is a 23rd place battle. Qualls now going to fall back to 24th. Matthew Rodriguez already locked in, but he's 26th. Austin LaPlante, look at this battle up here with all these playoff contenders. LaPlante right now, I believe he is in 29th. Breton is 30th. Dylan Young is in 31st. Casey Hoyt is in 34th. Keith Batson in 35th. That's where they were scored the last time by. Boy, Matt McIntyre, we saw that contact on pit road between him and another driver. That really hurt his chances. He lost a lot of time. He's 37th now. And Destin Boland's back in 40th. Caleb Fogler in 41st. With Kyle Matthews right now, the last car running in 42nd. All 42 cars are still on the lead lap and still under power. But this time by, going to be 8 laps to go. So it looks like Reese Banks and Jessica Shelton have done enough at this point in time that they will move up above the cut line. Austin LaPlante, I feel, is down below the cut line. Destin Boland and Dylan Young as well. Question is who would join them. I think maybe Caleb Fogler would have to be in that conversation, as well as Will Goss. Dylan Poteet might be down there somewhere. Connor Breton also might be down in there. Casey Hoyt. I feel that as things look right now, you look at a driver like a Connor Breton or a Caleb Fogler, if they advance into the next round, it's going to be by 1 or 2 points over that cut line. It's just that close coming in and that close the way they run on the racetrack right now. But a good battle up here at the front. You've got Rob Evans, who we've already documented is looking for his first career win. You've got Reese Banks, who was the last driver to make it into the playoffs on points, just barely sniped the 10th position in overall standings at the conclusion of the Auto Club race. He got a victory during the playoffs last year as a rookie, but was not able to battle for the championship. Now he's in the playoffs in his second full-time season, and he's got a shot not only of advancing into the next round, but getting his second career win. So a couple of young guns, if you will, here, duking it out for some early victories in their careers here in the Duracell Cup Series. And right now, Rob Evans has the advantage by about 3-4 car lengths over Reese Banks. And lap time-wise, he is bettering the 44. That last time by, he ran a 2.29, a 30.229, to Reese Banks' 30.248. It's only up to a couple of hundredths, but we even saw in qualifying yesterday, as well as the long run race that we had for the lights race yesterday, that hundredths of a second, they actually mean as much as tenths of a second do on the racetrack. So laps are ticking away, time is running out for Reese Banks, and Rob Evans is just trying to run qualifying laps here now to keep the Aldo's Pizza Ford Mustang in his rearview mirror. Kyler Sustre holding the 3rd spot. Right behind him, Jesse Turner. Good run for a couple of the Lake Effect Autosports Fords here tonight. Have looked like they've had good long run speed. And right now, Nathan Orman holding down the final spot inside the top 5. Where did Zach Rogers go? He's fallen back now to 6th, but still looking for a good points night. He's got Nick Gunther looking at his inside, though, for that spot. Jessica Shelton in a good battle with Levi McIntyre. That would be for, I believe, the 8th position. Behind them, you've got Ryan Butcher and Quentin Moore. They're battling it out for 10th, which Butcher's going to take the spot, get a nice run on McIntyre, and now look for 9th going into 3 and 4. Good runs here tonight as well for a couple of drivers. How about Quentin Moore just outside the top 10? How about Cole Deaver? Haven't mentioned his name at all this evening. And a good run currently in the 12th spot. And then Benjamin Miles, good qualifying effort here last evening. Qualified up inside the top 10. He's been up in the top 15 most of the evening. Currently in 16th place. There's a bit of a stack up there from 6th place on back. Nick Gunther had to bail out of the throttle, as did Jessica Shelton. That's going to stack them up 3 wide going into 3. But at the front, white flag in the air, 1 lap to go, and Banks has closed up the distance to a car length and a half between himself and Rob Evans. Evans trying to complete the sweep for the Evans Motorsports cars going to victory lane this season. Zachary Fitzwater set the tone with his 2nd career win at Mid-Ohio. Zach Rogers followed it up, making his way into the playoffs with a victory at Atlanta just before the postseason began. And first career win is going to take place tonight for Rob Evans, as he's going to come down and receive his first checkered flag of his Duracell Cup Series career. Checkered flag for Rob Evans. He will win his way into the round of 12 to advance, and it is the 3rd driver out of Evans Motorsports to take a checkered flag here in Season 7. As the checkered flag waves over the rest of the field, and now our mathematicians go to work on trying to figure out who is in and who is out. heading into the upcoming round of 12. But what a monkey off the back this has got to be for Rob Evans. This is, I believe, his third full-time season in the Cup Series. And he finally snaps the winless streak and will break into victory lane. It's been a career year for Rob Evans, regular season champion, first playoff appearance, and now first checkered flag in his Duracell Next Gen Cup Series career. Well, we're going to wait and see about drivers that didn't make it. It will be somewhat easy to name off some drivers that absolutely did make it into the next round. A given would obviously be Matthew Rodriguez. Another given would be Rob Evans. They have both won their way into the round of 12. But some other playoff contenders up here inside of the top 10, you have to think they have done enough to advance into the next round. Reese Banks, runner-up finish for him. No doubt in my mind, he scored enough points. He'll be above the cut line and moving on to the round of 12. Jesse Turner, fourth. He was already above the cut line. This secures him a slot into the round of 12. Zach Rogers, same deal for him. It was close, 8 points above the cut line, but a top 10 run, and I believe Rogers led the most laps tonight. Yes, he did. 9 laps more than Rob Evans did. A dominating performance for Evans Motorsports and their cars this evening as they totaled 61 circuits out in front, but Rogers will advance. Jessica Shelton was below the cut line by 7 points. Top 10 run in 8th. S3 Motorsports, their 3 in a row, stays alive with that Project Dodge. I believe she's done enough to advance, and Ryan Butcher already came in with a pretty good cushion between himself and that cut line. He was the highest in the points that hadn't yet advanced, and he finishes top 10. No doubt he is moving on as well. So we know Rodriguez, Evans, Banks, Turner, Rogers, Shelton, and Butcher. That's 7, I believe, I just listed off right there. There are 5 other drivers that are going to join them. I'm not going to hazard a guess as to who I think they are, because I think it's going to be too close to call of who's just barely going to be above, who's just going to be below for those potential final few positions. But you take a look at where they finished, you try and do the math for yourself. Dylan Poteet, 19th place, might have been enough. That's a far sight better than where he was running when we last checked, and he was 1 point above the cut line. I think Poteet might have done enough. I think he could have done enough. We'll see. You've also got Matthew Rodriguez, 25th. We knew he was already advancing. The cut line driver was Austin LaPlante. It's so difficult when you've got the cut line driver that finishes way down in the running order because they might still be the cut line driver. They may have moved a couple spots above the new cut line driver. I don't know. I don't know if LaPlante is in. Qualls, I don't know if he's in. Did he do enough? He was, 8 points below the cut line, and he finishes below the cut line driver coming in. I don't know if he's done enough or not. 3-time winner might be out, just like that of the first round. Dylan Young, I feel like Young is out. Young came into this one 15 points below the cut line, and he finished in 30th. I think for Dylan Young, he needed to at least finish up inside of the top 10, if not the top 15. I think Dylan Young's been eliminated. He just barely made his way into the playoffs, tying with Zach Rogers for that final wild card spot, but I think his road comes to an end here. 3-time winner Connor Breton, 3-time winner Casey Hoyt, 32nd, 33rd. I don't know if they've done enough to be able to advance or not. Both of them came into this race above the cut line, but did they lose too many points to fall below that cut line? Keith Batson, he came into this race the second highest that hadn't advanced in the points. He had a total of, 25 points between himself and the cut line. 36th ain't good, but you look at all the other drivers that were, behind him around that cut line that finished not that far up ahead of him, like a Dylan Young or a James Qualls or an Austin LaPlante, Breton Hoyt. I think Keith Batson, despite a 36th place finish, I think he's still going to be above the cut line and he will advance. Again, though, not confirmed. We'll wait and see. Will Goss. This one, I think, might be an elimination. 37th in the finishing results, and he was only 4 points ahead of the cut line. I don't see how he could have done enough right there to advance, but we'll have to wait and see. Destin Bolin was below the cut line by 3 points and finishes 40th. I think that is a clear elimination. Tough break there for Destin. 3-time winner last year, made it into the playoffs. This year had to point his way in, is yet to gain a checkered flag in season 7. I think his road comes to an end here. And then Caleb Fogler, one of the former champions, advancing here into the playoffs. First playoff berth for him as a single driver. He, of course, made it in Season 5 with the conglomerate of Kyle Matthews and Stephen Pollard III, but for his first single driver full-time appearance in the playoffs, he may be out. And the driver that he ended up winning that championship with back in Season 5, Kyle Matthews, finishes dead last here tonight, but all 42 cars actually finished on the lead lap. So what is the scenario? Who is in, who is out? We're going to find out in just a moment. We're going to step aside for just a moment. Do not go anywhere. We're going to let the mathematicians go to work, and we will give you the announcement of who is in, who is out, heading into Hillside for the start of the round of 12. You guys will be seeing the point standings in just a moment, but we are going to verbally tell you here who are going to be the 12 drivers advancing into the next round of the playoffs, where they will take on Hillside, Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and Arizona Speedway. Let's get the first preliminary drivers out of the way that we already knew. Matthew Rodriguez locked in on his victory at Gateway. Rob Evans locked in on his victory here tonight at Nashville. They will advance. They will carry 5 bonus points into the next round. We're not going to say who the cut line driver is, but we will tell you where the drivers finished ahead of said cut line. Ryan Butcher, with a top 10 run here tonight, had great momentum coming into this race. He will finish 51 points ahead of the 12th in the standings cut line. He automatically advances in. Jesse Turner with the top 5 run here tonight. He will finish a total of 44 points ahead of the cut line. He locks himself into the round of 12. Zach Rogers with another great performance here tonight leads the most laps. Those bonus points coming into play as he will finish a total of 31 points ahead of the 12th in standings cut line. He advances into the round of 12. Keith Batson, I felt like he might have done enough because of the fact that a lot of drivers that were around him in points also struggled here tonight. He finishes 36th, but he will advance into the round of 12. Official number, 17 points ahead of the 12th in the standings cut line. Reese Banks, he will move on to the next round after his runner-up finish here tonight. He gained 9 spots in the point standings after this one, moving from 16th up to 7th. So from below the cut line to above the cut line, 14 points ahead of the cut line is where he finished out this round. Jessica Shelton was also below the cut line, up 6 spots after her top 10 run here tonight. She will finish 8th after round 1 in the overall points. As far as the playoff points are concerned, a total of 13 points ahead of the cut line. Dropping 3 spots, but still will be above the cut line, is the 3rd driver out of Lake Effect Autosport, that being 3-time winner Casey Hoyt. He will finish 12 points ahead of the cut line to advance. Despite the fact he ended up not running all that well tonight, but was able to salvage a 19th place finish, Dylan Pote actually picked up 1 spot in overall standings, finishes 10th overall. He finishes 10 points ahead of the cut line. He will advance into the round of 12. Connor Breton dropped 4 spots in the standings after his poor run tonight, but the 3-time winner by a mere 8 points is going to have enough to advance into the round of 12. And Austin LaPlante came into this race the cut line driver. The cut line driver after this race was Austin LaPlante. He managed to hold on to the 12th position in the standings. So Austin LaPlante, who is still looking for his first win on the season, is going to garner enough points, finishing 28th here tonight, to advance into the next round of the playoffs. So congratulations to those 12 drivers. They will continue on their journey to battle for the championship. 5 drivers, their road will come to an end right here, and 3 of them out of the Young Motorsports stables. Will Goss, the first of those. He dropped 3 spots from 10th down to 13th. 5 points below the cut line is where he will finish out the first round. Caleb Fogler, he dropped 5 spots in the standings from 9th down to 14th. The former champ finishes a total of 8 points below the cut line. James Qualls, 3-time winner, having a career year, but it will come to a close right here in his battle for the championship, as he will be 15th in overall points ending out this first round. He was a total of 9 points below the cut line. Destin Bolin, he dropped 3 spots in the standings, but he was already below the cut line. 16th is where he will finish out the first round in overall playoff points, a total of 15 points below the cut line. And Dylan Young, it was looking like Dylan was actually advancing his way up through the running order, ran into some kind of trouble, I guess, on that final pit stop, finished outside of the top 30. Dylan was already the 17th seed coming into tonight. He did not leave the 17th seed, finishes 17th overall after the first round. He was a total of 14 points below the cut line, so I believe that means he only gained 1 point between himself and that 12th in the standings cut line in this race. So Caleb Fogler, Will Goss, James Qualls, Destin Bolin, and Dylan Young will be the first 5 eliminatees from the playoffs here in Season 7. The other 12 will move on. Rodriguez and Evans, they'll be tied for the number 1 seed after everything is reformatted, having 5 bonus points each for their wins during this first round, and they will be joined by Ryan Butcher, Jesse Turner, Zach Rogers, Keith Batson, Reese Bank, Jessica Shelton, Casey Hoyt, Dylan Pote, Connor Breton, and Austin LaPlante. Next week, it is Hillside. It's only the Cup cars, so we'll have Cup qualifying on Saturday, the race on Sunday, and that will begin our round of 12 in preparation for who will be moving on to the Elite 8. But thank you all for tuning into tonight's race here from Nashville Super Speedway. Now I know why this racetrack was on the schedule last season. I think an even better race here this season, and cannot wait to see what we'll do next season in Season 8. But until next week at Hillside, congratulations to our 12 moving on. Commiserations to the 5 that got eliminated. They'll look to end out the season with many checker flags as they can in preparation for Season 8. And we hope to see you guys next time. If you enjoyed this race, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe part of the crew today. We have shown you full official results. I verbally told it to you, but now you're going to visibly see the point standings heading into next week. You'll see them reformatted when we get to next week's race. And until then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA. Offline racing at its best.